Hi guys. When I was a kid, I was taught the proper way to greet a dog because I had loving and caring parents who wanted me to be safe, and they taught me what they had learned, the best that they knew how. And in recent years, I've found out that that advice is, if not wrong, it wasn't quite right. Um, and why does that matter, right? I've never been bitten by a dog, so clearly it was good enough. But what is good enough actually? Does that mean good enough to prevent any dog from biting? Clearly not, because a large number of dog bites come from humans being too forward. Um, Good enough to set a good example for children who model the behavior of adults and who also represent a disproportionately large number of dog bites that happen. Good enough to keep our dogs comfortable and happy. Something else, maybe? Hi, I'm Jennifer Malloway. I am a dog trainer and behavior consultant, and my job is to help you have the most magical relationship imaginable with your dog. And for me, good enough in this context has to be even a little bit more, because good enough has to be good enough to earn the trust of dogs who are potentially cautious or shy or outright fearful. And you can't make progress without trust. Trust has to be the foundation. So that's where I'm setting the standard. And it's why I want to talk to you guys about it. Because clearly, if I was given maybe slightly misinformed information when I was growing up and it didn't get corrected for this many years, maybe this is something that should be passed along. So that's why we're here today. And I'd like to say hello to the Perry family. Howdy. All the way to Tennessee. How's the weather there? Are you guys getting a lot of snow too? Ours is thankfully starting to melt, which I'm grateful for. I was not looking forward to being trapped in or potentially losing our power. I know a lot of that has been happening in all sorts of places, and I it's not fun, and everybody needs help. Winter is not a good time to be without power. So hopefully you guys are doing all right over there. Um, so why don't we start with what was I told? What was I told as a child? And hi Jesse, welcome. Actually, you guys who are here watching, tell me in the comments, what do you got? What were you told, or if you've got kids, what do you tell them about how to approach and greet unfamiliar dogs? It'd be interesting to compare, were we all told the same thing? And am I the only one who's stuck thinking, that nothing's changed, perhaps? Okay, so what I was told by my parents as a child is that if you want to meet an unfamiliar dog, you walk up and reach your hand out, potentially like this, and pause to let them sniff your hand before petting them, right? Which sounds nice. It sounds really smart, actually, because dogs do appreciate having been given the time and the space to investigate by sniffing. That's huge. That actually is wonderful to offer that to dogs. And as I said before, this may not have resulted in disaster on too many occasions. I personally have never been bitten, but it is a less preferred approach by dogs. Oh, hi, Paul. Dogs good eaten. What does that mean? Dogs good eaten? Maybe I'm what? Okay. And then usually what happens after that is once you've given the dog time to sniff and they haven't run away screaming, maybe then it's okay to pet them. And most people go to pet dogs on the head. It is my favorite place to pet a dog because their heads are so soft. They're just so friggin' soft. And also it's the closest thing to our hands usually. just by the design of our comparative anatomies. But while head petting may be tolerated by the vast majority of dogs, most dogs, I would say, I mean, yeah, I can't think of a dog I've ever seen who has appreciated being patted on the head by a stranger in public. Um, they barely enjoy it from most dogs barely enjoy it from their owners at home under certain contexts, but head patting, usually most dogs hate it, which brings me to it's a side note, but I just have to bring it up because I can't help myself. Um, People who claim that they can train their dog with petting, and when I see this in practice, it's usually pats to the head. And as I said before, like of the hundreds and hundreds of dogs that I have either personally trained or I have observed training, I have never once, not once, seen a dog who appreciated being patted on the head in a training context. Which means, and in fact, most of them, if not all, actually try and avoid it. They don't like it, which means that if you're doing that in a training context, what is effectively happening is you're actually probably punishing the behavior that you wanted to strengthen, which is working against your own goals, right? That makes no sense. And the dog, because they didn't growl or bite, the owner thinks like, the dog loves it. This can work as reinforcement, but as we know, in training, if we're trying to reinforce the dog, we have to use reinforcers that the dog wants, not that we think the dog wants, but that they actually want. So that was a bit of a digression here, but I just see it all the time, and I'm like, don't punish your dog for sitting when you ask them to sit. Like, that makes no sense. Anyway, so yeah, most dogs do not like being patted on the head. In most contexts. Now, not saying that your dog, you should never pat them on the head, because there may be a time and a place, but it's going to be far less often than you think. Oh, Paul says, oh, okay, this is advice. You had an uncle with a mean sense of humor, but it means there are some parts of the world where dog equals food, much like a horse is in places. Oh gosh. Was that the advice? Did you forget about meeting dogs? We're just going to eat them? Is that where he was going? Oh, yeah, no, that would not be very welcome advice here, would it? Anybody else? Jesse? Jason? Anyone have tips that they were told maybe about how to greet dogs? And if this is advice that you've even passed along to your children or to anybody else, like, seriously, no judgment here. Like, I'm fully admitting that, like, until, I'm in my 30s, and until very recently, like, that was the advice I'd had and maybe passed along to other people. Like, yeah, this is just the nature of how information gets passed along. And it's why, oh my gosh, it's why there's so much misinformation about dogs, is because most people don't go out and like seek formal education about these animals that live in tons of households. Like, their dogs are common, and we just don't seek out like new, updated information. So how would we ever know? Like, I might never have known if I hadn't like gone to school, about dogs. So yeah, again, no judgment. I'm just curious, like, is this the same information that you guys were given? I don't know. I certainly was not told any of the stuff that I'm about to tell you. So hopefully it's helpful here. Avoid direct eye contact. That's a good one. Yep, that's it. Put your hands in your pocket. That's another good one. Showing a dog your hands is like offering them up for treats. So remind me, where did you grow up? Because this is not bad advice. Let's see. Jason says, hold the back of your hand out slowly. Close your eyes and pray that you don't pull back a nub. That's hilarious. But yeah, so same thing. Hold your hand out. Hold the back of your hand out. Let them sniff. Kind of, yeah. That's funny. That's a much funnier way of putting it. But similar. It would look similar to the dog, to any dog that you're approaching. You walking up and holding your hand out like that is going to look the same, however we were told. Anyway, so Okay, so I was told hold out your hand, then we usually pet on the head. Here's another thing that I used to think. Hi Sarah, more snow coming tonight. I'm so sorry. Hopefully you're staying warm. Okay, so here's a really common one that uh, I hear all the time, even more common than the hold your hand out thing. And is that if a dog, if you're meeting a dog in a greeting context, if they roll over onto their back and expose their belly, that's an invitation. That's they want to have their belly pet, right? Not true. At least most of the time. Now, absolutely, uh, plenty of dogs like having their belly scratched or petted. And in order to do that, they usually do roll onto their back. However, in a greeting context, this is usually not the case. In a greeting context, if a dog does that, whether it's with another dog or with a human, it's usually because they do that when they want to signal that they're not a threat. Now, why would they need to signal that they're not a threat, right? It's usually because either they don't know you or they do, and they don't know for sure what your intentions are in that moment. And rolling onto their back is a sign that they want to show you that they're no threat, like I said. And it's supposed to signal to signal to you to slow down or back off, because they're trying to prevent harm to themselves. And when they do that with that intention, and then we encroach and perhaps even touch them, like, yeah, it may end well for them, but was it a scary experience for them? Potentially. And if there's a better way to go about it, probably we're gonna be on better footing, a better first impression with that dog. Um, Not true, fingerback. You're funny. CK says I ignore the dog and let them come to me, and that is wonderful. We could end it there. CK, thank you. We've finished it. No, that's really really good advice. That's perfectly fine. But it's really hard for a lot of people, especially kids, right? So I find that depending on the situation, depending on the person who's learning this, different things might help. And if you have kids of your own, or know people with kids, or interact with kids ever, it's good to know. And the reason that I bring kids up, because I don't have my own, and I don't plan to. But kids are kids are particularly vulnerable when it comes to interactions with animals. And like I said before, human children are very adept at modeling adult behavior, right? And so whatever we do, they're going to pick up on it. And if they're doing the stuff that adults casually do with dogs without thinking, a lot of times that does lead to dogs being made uncomfortable enough to bite, and then children are hurt in the process. And so I bring kids up in this discussion because this is something that they can easily learn from us, and it keeps them safe, and it keeps dogs safe in the process, because a dog who has bitten, they get labels put on them that lead to their lives being restricted in ways that maybe they didn't need to before, or worst case scenario, dogs get put down for this stuff. So it's a way to protect ourselves, kids, dogs, everybody. And yeah, most of the time, because dogs are so wonderful and so tolerant of our pushy human behavior with them, most of the time this is not an issue. But when stuff does go wrong, humans are usually like, came out of the blue, I have no idea why this happened, the dog just bit, he just went crazy. But that's not usually the case. Usually it's because we did something. And if we knew better, or if we were at least paying attention, we can prevent a lot of this stuff. So this is today all about keeping everybody safe. CK, yeah, not easy at all. And oh my gosh, like even myself, who, well, not these days, but when I was working at puppy preschool and I had private training clients, and I had dogs. I was boarding dogs at my own home. Like, I was around so many dogs all the time. And even for me, like, you see a new dog and it's just like, ah, like, you can't you can't help it, you know? Um, so I get it. I totally get it. Sarah says, "That's what I do. Let them come to me." That is the best way. That's where we're headed. But uh let me just throw in a few things in case you're gonna leave early. I want a few things that to definitely not do. Don't kiss a strange dog, right? Kissing involves facial proximity, and dogs' teeth are generally located in their face, um, and you do not want teeth on your face. So just don't do that. um, we are primates, and if you've ever watched like Nature Channel stuff, documentaries about any other type of ape or primate, and you watch their interactions, they're like the way that they show affection. It's, I mean, it's crazy, like to watch and see like how we as human animals, as primates, we the way that we show affection, it's a lot of hands, it's a lot of um, chest to chest contact, hugs, um, wrapping our arms around. It's a lot, we're very like in your face kind of animals. Dogs are not. They may, when they are ready for it, when they feel like it, they may get in your face. They may lick your face. Dizzy's very guilty of this. He's a face licker all the way. But it's on their terms, right? Much less accepted in dog culture, all the stuff that we primates do. So no go. So no kissing. Again, your dog may tolerate this from you, but are your children watching? And if you're used to doing this with your dog, might you accidentally, in one of those moments of just like, over cuteness, go and do that to a strange dog? It could happen. I've done it. Guilty right here. Let's see. CK says, it was harder training my dad to let Kuzco come to him than to train Kuzco. You are, yeah. Oh my gosh. You've broken my word making facilities here. Yeah, no, definitely training humans to be differently around dogs is way harder than training dogs to be differently around us. Hey, Bug. Hey, Diz. Off. Thank you, Sugar. Oh, where are your cookies? We don't have the cookies up here. I brought them downstairs. Whoops. Okay, so yeah, let's start with no kissing and no hugging. This kind of stuff has been going around the internet for the last few years. You may have seen articles or videos or whatever about how dogs hate hugs, and yeah, that's, for the most part, that's true. Like, I don't like to go around telling people like don't hug your dog, because like dogs are, we get dogs because they're so good for comforting us and for that physical contact, and it's like it is so beneficial, and they don't hate it in all contexts. So it's important to like get into the nuance there, but certainly do not hug strange dogs, and do not model hugging dogs for children. Like, that's where I want to draw the line. Yeah, no, hugging, which is bodily restraint, is super invasive for dogs, and unless they are used to it and it's the right moment and from the right person and in the right place, ease up on the hugs. Welcome. Hi, Jackie Hoover. CK, word picking ability. Yeah, I just totally lost words right in that moment. It happens all the time. But anyway, so anyway, yeah, you guys, like, this doesn't mean that you won't get to say hi or to pet and interact with dogs. Doesn't mean that at all. You can have fun and be silly with them and be relaxed with them. I get afraid that like by telling people like, oh, don't do this and don't do that, like it means that you have to be like rigid and like so careful, and like that's not how it is. It's not how it is at all. You're still gonna have plenty of fun with dogs, even if you respect their boundaries, which is what this is all about. But in fact, dogs are gonna want to interact with you more because you have initiated this relationship by showing them that you understand them, you understand their boundaries, you can speak their language, you are a person that they can trust not to push too far, to be overbearing and put them in situations where they're uncomfortable. And once you've laid that groundwork, they're gonna be okay with the mistakes that we make, right? If you do later on accidentally put them in a situation that makes them uncomfortable, you've got a lot more give. You've got a lot more cushion there for a dog who's, they're going to be like, I hate this is like anthropomorphizing. I don't like to put words in dogs' mouths because it's conjecture and that's not very scientific, but this is kind of how we see it play out, where dogs, if you've laid that foundation of trust, then when you perhaps go too far, they're like, I know that was an accident. You didn't mean it. Whereas if you come out of the gate and that's just how you are and you ignore their feelings from the get-go, they're much less likely to warm up to you. Doggy consent. Yes, Sarah, absolutely. It's all about consent. That's huge. And that's one of the things that as I learned more and more about dogs and my own behavior, and how they learn and how they, their preferences, it became so obvious how the parallels between the like discussion about consent that's becoming more and more prevalent these days. The overlap is pretty much, it's the same. And there's a lot that we can learn, all of us, about animals, about each other, about respect. It's just like, this is why I love dog training, because I love dogs and I love being around them. But I love it like extra because of how much we can learn about doing better by each other. It can make us better people. I get so like, it just means a lot to me. Anyway, so yeah, we as humans tend to assume that all dogs want to be our friend right away, and to their great credit, dogs on the whole are a super friendly species, like to a fault almost in some cases. But that doesn't mean that all dogs are okay with any interaction all the time. And so here's what how we can make better first impressions and just have better interactions and build that trust with our dogs all along the way. Thank you, Jason, who says great content. It's important. I think it's important. So, that was a good choice to stop growling at the people out the window. Here, bub. Good job. Okay. So, what I think the best way to teach kids and show, especially for kids, about how to greet dogs is, first of all, ask first, and don't just ask the owner, ask the dog. The rest of this is pretty much going to be, how do you ask a dog, right? Oh my gosh, we were on a hike within the last couple of months, and we encountered I guess a mom and her daughter, and the daughter was so sweet. She stopped a pretty good distance away from us, got my attention and asked if it was okay if she pet Dizzy. And I want, as a dog owner, for all of you who are dog owners, this is great. Rehearse this script. If a kid does that, you want to reward, you want to praise the heck out of them, right? They need to know that is absolutely the best thing that they could possibly do, is to ask you first. again, keeps everybody safe. So if it is safe and if it's okay for them to interact with the dog, then let them if you can. We want that behavior of asking to be rewarded and reinforced. And so yeah, so I want to say yes, but I want my first response to be yes, but let's ask him. Yes, but let's ask the dog first. And in that moment when this little girl asked me, like, it wasn't on the tip of my tongue, and I know, like, I know that that's what I want it to be, but I need to practice so that that's the first thing that comes out of my mouth, because it's such a beautiful little moment when a kid asks and you have the opportunity to say yes and show them even better interactions with dogs. It's just the perfect thing. So if you're a dog owner, I highly recommend practice that script. Yes, let's ask the dog first. Or not, maybe not, you don't even have to say yes. Like, let's ask him, it's such a good script to have. So how do we ask the dog? We can, first of all, this is all about our body language, right? And how dogs perceive it. So first of all, when we greet people, usually it's head on. Maybe even with that hand out, right? We do handshakes. So we like to face people, make eye contact, stick our hand out. Like, that's how humans do greetings a lot of the time. But for dogs, facing them straight on can be very threatening. That's a threatening posture. So I like to turn my body at least at a diagonal, if not all the way to the side. If not all the no, yeah, at least just turn the front of your body a little bit askew. And CK, well, she's okay. CK says, interesting, never considered asking the dog. But if I scroll up here, CK, you said you ignore the dog and let them come to you. That is essentially asking them, right? Asking them means giving them the choice to interact. And so if you've okay, so is it from Hitch? Is that the movie where he talks about the 90-10 rule? Like, if you want to kiss somebody and you're supposed to, like, lean in 90% of the way and let them come the other 10%. That's like, okay, this is like dog greetings, only, again, no kissing. But instead of 90-10, like CK, you've said in your example here, like, if you just ignore them and let them come to you, you're giving them the 100%, which is fine. That's great. Yes, from Hitch. Okay, cool. So if you give them 100%, that's great. Asking the dog would be more like, we do the 10% and let the dog come the other 90. It's just the inverse. So yeah, so we can turn our body to the side, and yeah, no, well, let me pause here, because there is something I want to include. If you can see this when dogs, like, this is how we know that head-on posture can be kind of threatening, is from watching dog-to-dog interactions. You will notice that in most interactions that are relaxed and positive and very pleasant for all parties involved, when those dogs greeted, at the very least, if they're unfamiliar dogs, sometimes dogs who live together or who are very good friends, you might see a little bit of breaking of this rule. But for dogs who greet, especially like in public and especially if they're unfamiliar, the most positive interactions that they have will start with like, they will arc around, right? You've seen this. Dogs who greet by, like, running up and straight on, usually that starts off as a very tense interaction, because the other dog doesn't know how to read that. In dog culture, that's very rude. Now, a lot of times it works out okay anyway, but it's less than ideal for the dogs involved. So we can kind of give dogs the same feeling by just not facing head on. That's where all that comes from. Um, the other thing that we can do is kneel down or get low at least. This is maybe more important for the adults in the room because we are taller than children usually. Um, and but it sets a good example, right? Um, Again, by the simple fact of our anatomy, we are taller than dogs, and to pet a dog while we are standing means that we have to loom over them, which again can be very threatening. That's a like consider what that looks like from the dog's perspective. If you're down here and like someone comes in and they're like, "Hello," like that's very invasive. So for a lot of dogs, if when a human is looming over, especially if they don't know this human, you'll see a lot of like uncomfortable body language for dogs. You'll see the lip licks, and you'll see the maybe turning their head away or averting their gaze at least, ducking a little bit. Like dogs are not comfortable with the looming, so by kneeling down, we can avoid as much of that. Then again, you guys pointed out, don't make direct eye contact. Eye contact can also be very threatening to dogs. They actually this is very similar to I think our human culture. I think we are used to more direct eye contact than dogs are, but the rules that seem to be in play there's a lot of overlap here, and you'll notice this if you like if you're walking down the street. How many of you? I want an answer to this for all of you watching. When you walk down the street, if somebody makes eye contact with you, like how does that make you feel? And what do you do in response? Do you like make direct eye contact back? Or do you tend to feel like the need to kind of look away? Let's see. CK says, kids always ask to pet Kuzco, so I would kneel down, ask Kuzco to sit, and told them to come to the side and pet him on the back. I always make sure they keep hands away from face, and that's perfect. That's awesome. Like I said, there's not like one right way. These are just guidelines that can, on the whole, if you follow them, whether you're actually like coaching a kid through this, or you just give them a couple, like it can go well, but generally these can help situations with dogs. And this is true whether or not it's a really shy dog. Certainly it helps, like you'll see the difference way more with very cautious and shy dogs. But this is helpful no matter if the dog is super confident or shy. It doesn't matter. Always a good idea. So back to the I haven't seen any answers yet about the eye contact. But in our human culture, and again, okay, so I use culture like we have our like culture as a species, and we have our cultures, depending on the region of the world where you live. I can only speak to America because that's where I am, but so it does vary a little bit, but generally there will be contexts when sustained eye contact is acceptable, maybe even preferred. Like if you're having an intimate conversation with someone, you are supposed to make eye contact with them, especially if you are the person listening at the time. That's generally preferred. But if you just stared at them and never broke eye contact, like that would eventually get really awkward, right? Like eventually you hit a point where you're like something weird is happening and it's not okay. Like I can't I can't even, because it feels so weird. That is unnatural. So we have accepted patterns of eye contact that we maybe don't even pay attention to, but you certainly feel them. And yeah, for me, like maybe even depending on the city that you live in, like making eye contact at all with someone, a stranger that you're passing on the street, might be like considered weird. in other cities, maybe making brief eye contact is acceptable, but certainly sustained eye contact is weird. Again, the person that you're interacting with, again, is going to affect how much eye contact is comfortable for you. If it's a close friend or an intimate partner or your own kids, your immediate family, anything like that, you're going to allow for a lot more sustained eye contact than you would if it was a stranger. So there's all these like rules that we maybe aren't like taught directly, but we pick them up. Like, this is just how we learn to be in the world. Now, dogs have their own set of like cultural norms of what's acceptable and what's threatening, and this is all. Eye contact is a big one with dogs. Yeah, generally sustained eye contact is, it's just too much. I've gone on about eye contact quite a bit, so anyway. But it's a big one, so I'm glad that you guys brought it up. This wasn't even on my list here, but anyway. So you've turned your body to the side. You're not making eye contact. You're potentially maybe even kneeling down or getting lower, which might be just ignoring the dog, CK, like you said. Then part of asking the dog might be, you pat your leg in invitation, or a little clap or something, just to that generally is encouraging to dogs for some reason. And when you do that, if a dog doesn't approach, like, that's a pretty clear signal that they are not ready to interact. You want, if you're going to be greeting and especially touching a dog, you want to see super pro-social behavior, which means they are coming that other 90% of the way. They're coming in and touching their body to yours. You're letting them be the ones to do most of the initiating there. So yeah, if a dog is at all hesitant, you don't want to like push it and put them in a situation in which they're potentially uncomfortable. Excuse me, guys, for a moment. Hey, Diz. You gonna get kicked out of the office again today? I gotta see what it is. Oh, we're done? Okay. Can you lie down? Is it okay? I gotta see. Oh my, oh my goodness, it was a dog. Jeez. Yes. Thank you for not eating them. So yeah, so finally, if they do not approach, be okay with accepting a no thank you. Yeah, like that's the hard bit, right? We said it was really hard, damn near impossible, to show restraint when it comes to seeing a really cute dog. But ignoring them is hard. The second really hard thing is accepting the no. We have to allow dogs a way to say no. Otherwise, there's no point in the rest of this, because we've just destroyed any amount of trust that we started to build. So accept the no when it's given. But if they do come in, like CK pointed out, a really, really good way to have a first interaction with a dog is one hand on the back. Like we said, heads, faces, that's a lot to have. Like, like if you're sitting right here, and if I just thought you were the cutest thing in the world and I just wanted to, like, oh my God. Yeah, no. Like, that's not fun for anybody. That's like the uncomfortable aunt that you have to see once a year and you're like, like, stop touching my face. Yeah, hands to faces, especially right off the bat when they don't know you. It's a bit much. And it's a good modeling for kids to just show them petting on the back, because the back's generally the safest place. Like, dogs might be uncomfortable about this body part or that body part being touched, but most are okay. If they want to interact at all, most of them are okay with their backs being touched. So great to demonstrate for the kiddos. Also, the reason I say one hand is, again, two hands for some dogs can make them more uncomfortable. I actually, I see this on an almost daily basis with Dizzy because I've been working with him on um, uh, nail trims, nail filing actually. I'm teaching him to allow me to file his nails, and he was very sensitive about having his paws handled. And we got to a point where like he was totally, like in a full head down on his side, relaxed position. And I could pick one paw up, no problem whatsoever. But as soon as the second hand touched it, he would be like, like, two hands is scarier for dogs. And again, a hug usually involves two hands, which is why we generally like to stay away from them. Good boy. Thank you for lying down. Yeah, so especially for children, if they can be taught from the get-go that like one hand is a good place to start, that's awesome. So yeah, for some reason, like those two hands, it can seem really innocuous to us, but for dogs, like, I don't know, for some reason it makes a difference. So okay, yeah. I think that's it. So no, I do have one more thing. Finally, once you've done all the above, the dog is like loving it. They've come to you, and they're you're petting them and having a grand old time. My final tip is to stop and check. After maybe 3 to 5 seconds, if you pull away, it's a good. We call this a consent test. If you pull away and the dog like pushes for more, it's a good indication that they're having a great time. You can continue, and then I'll repeat that. I'll repeat that forever. I don't ever like to assume that all is well, because things can change. The dog might be totally cool with you doing whatever you're doing in one moment, and then like some subtle thing shifts and they're like not comfortable anymore. And if we are always giving them a chance to like move away, if they felt the need to, then we avoid any risk of anything, of them being uncomfortable, of them feeling the need to fight their way out of the situation. So yeah, always stop and check. And because it'll happen. It happens all the time. I'll be interacting with a dog and I stop and they're like, okay, I've had enough. And they walk away, and like, doesn't mean I did anything wrong. It just means that maybe that's all the interaction the dog wanted in that moment. And that's perfectly acceptable, right? Again, we have to be okay with the no. Getting told no is hard, no matter what situation you're in, but getting told no by a dog, it like hurts. But you learn to be okay with it because you get way more out of it. You get these relationships with dogs. I mean, I always go back to the relationship because like, I don't know, we love dogs because of the relationships that we can have with them. And like, seeing them blossom and grow in ways that I never thought possible is the coolest thing. That's why I'm here with you. And so, yeah, it's so cool. And yeah, and giving them those recurring opportunities to say no means that they're coming to you more and more. They're like, they'll make it way more obvious that they want you to be doing anything, whatever, their dogs are very communicative, they're very expressive, and they get really good at telling us what they want. And even if it takes months or longer, I don't know, even if it takes a really long time, if you've got a particularly hesitant dog, it's almost like those relationships that you build from that point, they almost mean so much more because of, I don't know, like I'm finding it really difficult to express in words like just how special that is when you like to really have to earn an animal's trust, especially when they are like more difficult. Oh, guys, I can't remember if I've talked about this before, but one of my absolute like favorite dogs that I've ever worked with was like extremely fearful. She would not let any human near her. She if I was hired to come over and let her out to potty, and I would come in, drop some food on the floor, ignore her, open her door so she could get out the back to the back patio to potty, and I would leave. Like I was there for a very short time, didn't look at her, just opened the door, dropped treats, left. And it took a while, but a dog who's that fearful, who like is afraid of pretty much anyone and everything, like now, I really, okay, so when it feels safe to travel, like she moved out of my service area. She moved states actually, and um and I worked with her for a couple of years. And after I don't know how long it took at first for her to really warm up to me, but like by the time they moved, this dog, like I would show up at their house to pick her up for a dog walk, and she would like come racing down the stairs, jumping all over the couch and me, and she was so excited. And to see that like really bright, happy smile, from a dog who like used to just cower in the corner and hated, being touched at all, like, oh, it's so special. So anyway, so they moved, and like they moved not too far away from where my brother lives, and so one day I hope to be able to go and visit, and I can't wait to see this dog's reaction, because it would probably will. It'll have been at least a year, probably multiple years since we'd seen each other. But once you build that trust, like, oh, it's so cool, it's so special, and I want to have that for I want every person and their dog to have that. Like, it's the coolest thing. So, all right, rant over. Let me see. Cusco, never feel my I'm hurt, you don't want to cuddle with me act. Wait, never. Oh, okay. Cusco never felt my I'm hurt, you don't want to cuddle with me act I would put on. He was like, nope, I'm gonna go over here and chew on my toy. That's funny. I mean, yeah, it like a lot of dogs, they just need that opportunity to say no, and sometimes they're not the cuddle monsters that we want them to be. And that can be disappointing. But like, I don't know. There'll be the moments that there are, and again, the more that you respect their desires and their boundaries, the closer you get to the relationship that you want to have. I'm not saying this is the case for you, CK, but I like talking about this because I see a lot of people, I hear a lot of people saying things like their dog will be in a situation that I'm not so sure about, and I'm like, like we can back off, or we don't have to do such and such thing, and the dog owner's like, oh, he's fine, like no, like just like fine. I just, oh, it's like it's become a little trigger for me when people describe their dogs as fine, because usually if they're having to say that their dog is fine, it's because they really aren't. And so like that's the kind of thing that I'm like, we can help your dog, we can help you guys have a better communication. So yeah, it like it's just become a trigger, the whole like, oh, he's fine, and he's friendly. Those have become my trigger words. Like, I just as a person who's around dogs like a ton, you more often than not, if those words are being spoken, it's because those things are not true. It's just because that person is bulldozing over the dog's feelings, and hoping for the best. And you know what? Sometimes it does work out fine, and that's okay. But like, I don't know, I'm here to do better. So that's just, I just have a different way of going about things. So Yeah, I appreciate the stories that you guys are sharing about your dogs. CK says Cusco is very independent, and I would let him do his thing. He played and cuddled on his terms, and also told me when it was bedtime. That's so cute. um, yeah, and that's the thing, like as much as dogs are our little adorable cuddly living teddy bears that live in our homes, they're animals, and like we would probably be different with any other animal. If you had any other species as a pet, we wouldn't just force them into situations, because guess what? They would bite. Dogs don't get as much they don't get as much leeway in terms of like expressing their discomfort. So, and they're just so much more tolerant on the whole. They're just so much more tolerant than pretty much any other animal. Um, so we just walk all over them, and it hurts me to see that, um, because they're not like difficult animals to work with in the grand scheme of things. They're really not, even the difficult ones. um, so it's just let's just be nicer and like more considerate. Like that's really what this comes down to, is like, like Sarah pointed out earlier, it's just about consent, about recognizing the feelings that someone else is having, and being thoughtful enough to not walk all over those feelings. um I'll admit, like I probably, like, this is probably something that has been a meaningful part of my work with dogs, because I, as a person, have in my life felt very like trampled on, like my feelings didn't matter. And so you grow up, you survive. It's like, you know I don't want to say no long-term damage has been done, because probably it has. Um but like, I don't know, like, once, if you've ever been in a situation like that, it's a lot easier to empathize, and knowing that our dogs can experience those same types of emotions of feeling invaded. It's I don't know. That's just my moment of vulnerability. This is probably why it's so important to me. Um, that, and like I said up top, like, it can hinder my work with dogs if I don't get it, but I think it can also help everybody. So I just think it's a good message to share all around. But yeah, it means a lot if you've ever felt that way. Um, tell me, like, tell me I'm not a, like, have you guys ever felt that way? Have you ever felt like someone didn't care about your feelings and just did what they were going to do anyway despite that? Like, this has to be pretty much universal. Like, we can all relate to that. Am I way off base here? I mean, I don't know. I am a sensitive person, but I don't know. Like, I think we probably all have an example like that. You don't have to tell me what it is, although you can if you want to share a story. Type it in the comments. If you want to share a story of vulnerability like that, it could set, it could be a good example of why we care about this stuff. But even if you don't want to share the story, that's totally fine. But maybe, yeah, tell me if you can relate. Okay. Paul says you're not wrong. Sarah, absolutely not alone. CK says I can relate, not off base. Okay. So yeah, I didn't think so. But like, I don't know. Does it seem like is this, let me get my head on straight here. Those darn words again. Does it seem like is this message like, that was a lot of messages. But if someone comes along and tells you, like, don't hug dogs, like, you need to be careful about how you interact with dogs, or like, you're you're doing it wrong. Like messages like that. Like, is that hard to hear? Like, we did say it's hard to implement, because it is. But is it hard to hear? Like, did anybody feel, maybe not today, maybe today from me, but you know, I'm not the only person who has said this stuff. I'm not the first, certainly won't be the last. But if you've ever heard something like this about dogs and our interactions with them, like, have you ever felt like a little, like you wanted to push back a little bit? Like, is that, because I've worried about this. I worry about talking about this stuff because I don't want people to think that, like, I'm taking away their enjoyment of dogs or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, so I'm just curious, like how you guys receive information like that. Oh, hey Martha, good to see you here. She says, I relate, but I also think it takes growth to learn to take care of others that way. Yeah, growing is hard. You know, I mean, it does take work, and it takes like some intrinsic motivation, which is why it sometimes is hard to just be told information like that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It takes a lot of growth. I can speak from very personal experience here. Paul says, other people who don't get what you're trying to say are not correct. I mean, I don't know, like, yeah. I think that there are better ways of doing things. That's all it comes down to. Like, I don't like to say, like, you're wrong, I'm right. Like, you know, that makes me think of the whole, like, Matilda. You guys, have you guys seen Matilda? That scene, if you have, that scene where the principal, Trunchbull, I think is her name, is like standing over that poor kid, and she's like, no, maybe I'm getting the scene wrong. I don't know, but I just remember the line is something like, you know, because I'm big, you're small, I'm right, you're wrong. Like I don't want to frame anything that way ever. I just think that, like, we always have room to improve and grow, and if people want to improve and grow, then, like, the message is going to be okay. You know, and if you're not ready for that, then that's fine too. That's your journey. I'm just here to share. So, let me see. Oh God, I'm glad you guys are sharing here. So Sarah says, no, you're conveying valuable information, and people don't know what they don't know. Yeah, we never know what we don't know until we know it, right? CK says, I think it's good information, even if it might be hard. Cusco was the first. Oh, I lost a comment. Cusco was the first dog I ever had as an adult. Yeah, I mean, and Dizzy's my first dog that I've had as an adult, honestly. And are there things I would have done differently? Sure, it's a learning process. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's hard to imagine. So to Sarah's point, like, about not knowing what we don't know, I know that there's tons of stuff I don't know, right? And while I feel like I know a lot more today than I knew like 10 years ago about dogs, and about anything on it really, but especially about dogs, because I read and I study this. But you know, like, my sweet, come here. Can you hop up? Hop up. Jump. There we go. My sweet boy, can you say hi to the people? He's like, this is not comfy, Mom. Not comfy. Oh, we're going to climb on the desk. We're doing that again. All right, you can come down. Yeah, I mean, my sweet boy, who I'm trying to do everything right by. Like, I'm sure that, you know, 10, 15 years from now, like, maybe I'll have another dog, and maybe I will know all these things that I didn't know now, and I'll think, oh, like, I really wish I could have done that for Dizzy, you know? But we don't know what we don't know. So it's a really good point. Paul said, humans have domesticated dogs, which to me implies that dogs have learned or taken on human characteristics on top of their canine instincts. That that's part of how I make sense of your points. Certainly, they have changed immensely from their wolfy ancestors. And yeah, I mean, their evolution to what they are today is entirely dependent on their interactions with humans. So yeah, they have had to learn how to live better with us. It's why they're so friendly and social most of the time, is because they've lived side by side with us for so many generations. But yeah, so we share a lot in common. Like when I teach people about different things, about their dog, a lot of times it's really important for me to point out the differences, like to really understand how dogs are different, because we need to understand how they are different as a species in order to provide them the life and the welfare and the opportunities that a dog needs that a human doesn't. So a lot of times I find myself pointing out the differences, but there's a lot more commonalities than differences. So yeah, I mean, that's why we love them. That's why we love them. Martha says, I think as long as it's framed as relationship focused, like you said earlier, everyone would probably like a deeper relationship with their dog. I know I do. Wait, oh, did I miss? Was Dizzy, or were you talking about him sitting in my chair? Or were you talking about him doing his sit pretty thing? Was he doing it and I didn't notice? That's so funny. He's been doing that a lot because it's one of our more recent tricks. Oh, I know you're joking about right and wrong, Paul. My silly way of telling you what you're saying and how I feel about these things are valid. I'm glad you'd be getting these types of messages, because I think it's good stuff to share. Dizzy, I think Dizzy is so trying to get your attention. He keeps sitting up on his hindquarters. Oh my god, I missed it. I'm glad you guys saw it, because he's freaking adorable. He's gonna type. That's so funny. Sarah says, this is your area of expertise, so I can learn from you. I probably know more about watercolor painting than you do. Oh, I guarantee that's true. Yeah, and one day when I have time for another hobby, I may call you up. Martha says, about you asking wait, okay, Martha, if you're still here, help me out here. What did you mean by about you asking the don't hug, don't, etc., etc.? I think I'm not making a connection because I'm late. CK, oh, he was sitting pretty behind you. Yeah, it's so funny. Like, yes, Monday we talked about how he gets my attention. Like, that's one of his ways. More recently is he'll do the sit pretty trick, because it works. It works a lot of the time. You're back, Diz. Hi. He's like, okay, it's time. I think he's because most of the time I'm here about an hour, and most of the time he's with me. I think he's starting to time it. He's like, okay, wrap it up, lady. Oh, thanks, Martha. She said, when you asked how others would think if you taught them not to hug their dogs. Yes. I felt that if you framed it as relationship focused, people would be less affronted. Yeah, and that's what I try to do, because you're right. I think don't we all want a better relationship with our dog? Like, I don't know. I just think dogs are like these magical little beings. I'm looking at him in the I can see you smiling up here. I get overwhelmed by the cuteness. Jason said, Sarah, I'd say you do know more about the watercolor. Great looking work. Yeah, watercolor is so cool. Oh, Jason, were you on David's stream? Is he headed for food? I better go start cooking dinner, huh? Yeah, Dizzy, he's a hoot. Oh my god, I love him. I love him so much. And I love you guys for joining me. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me. It's really nice to get the feedback about how this information comes across, because I don't want to offend anybody. um, so it's really cool to get that feedback. Thank you so much, all of you watching. And if anybody is here for the first time, maybe you're watching on the replay and you're just getting to know me. If you like what you see, it is a really good idea to hit the subscribe button or the follow button, like the video, maybe even share it with somebody who would also like this information. There are also a few links that I started putting in the description for if you might be interested in taking a dog parkour class this spring. You can sign up to get notified. There's I'm gonna always say that, notified. You can sign up to get notified when the class is available. That link is down in the description. There is also there's also a link to get 90% off your first box of Ollie dog food. I fully admit I'm an affiliate. It is also what I feed Dizzy, because if you've been watching at all, you've seen me talk about how I love to feed part of Dizzy's meals in Kongs or marrow bones, stuffed and frozen. It's great enrichment, and the food that I usually put in those Kongs is Ollie dog food. It's super healthy, and there's such a good company. Presentation is awesome, and I have no qualms about trying to promote their product. It's really good stuff. So that link is also down below. And if you just like this stuff and you would like to support me in being able to continue to do this on a weekly basis, there's a link at buymeacoffee.com/Jennifer Malloway, where you can just become a supporter or a monthly member. And all of that is very much appreciated. So again, thanks guys for being here, and hopefully I will see you again on Friday. Ciao.